Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Pumpkinhead, issue 1 from Dynamite, 2018. Written by Colin Budd, artist is Blackie Shepard, colorist Thiago Rubiero, letters by Troy Peteri, backup story written by Colin Bunn, art by Kyle Strom, letters by Troy Peteri. I got the photo cover, so the other ones, there's a Kelly Jones cover. I'm sure it's awesome. Kelly Jones is great. Now this starts off with some kids going to find their demon in a foggy patch, and it gives kind of like pumpkin-shaped demons. So I guess we're really kind of reaching with the premise right out the gate, but then it jumps to the modern day. They don't say what state they're in, but there's Amish there, so that's really only encompasses a handful of states. And there was a hit-and-run accident, and they're in Wrightson Mills, and I'm guessing Wrightson Mills is based loosely, name-wise, on Bernie Wrightson because he did a lot of horror comics. I'm not sure, but they don't say what state they're in, and we've got our token minority sheriff, and she's trying to solve an oxy problem and this hit and run, and there's a guy in one of the cells, which they don't keep people on site like that. This is a local police department. They'd have to take him to county. But he gives them the old, don't worry, there's mysterious happenings. And then we cut to outside of town where there's this like compound. Obviously these are the drug dealers, and they're a bunch of white supremacist looking people, and they appear to be led by a tattooed guy that looks vaguely like Philip Robertson from Duck Dynasty. And one of the guys is trying to go home. His name's Clayton Reese, and he's trying to leave, but they won't let him leave. They're waiting for his dad to come get him. He's probably the hit and run driver, I'm guessing. Meanwhile, the place called Black Ridge, there's this old lady who was a kid at the beginning, and she's throwing like guts and stuff into the water when these Amish people come up and tell her, you know why I'm here, and they got these dead bodies. And obviously that's, if you've seen the movie Pumpkinhead, you know what's going on. So the sheriff goes a little while later to talk to the kids without an adult present, which is illegal in most states because these are all children under 14, and if you're going to ask them questions in an official capacity, which you are doing, you need an adult or an advocate there. So the adult comes out and basically tells her that, but without apparently the writer knowing, and they say there's something in the air and something attacks one of the guys at the compound, and we get our first shot of Pumpkinhead. Then there's this god-awful drawing at the back of a 2-page story called Gluttony, and the art looks horrifically bad. That is terrible. The art in the book itself isn't bad. Pumpkinhead looks really cool when we see him, and some of the faces look pretty good. Like the old lady at the beginning looks really good. Most of the time the people look fine, so I'm gonna give the art an okay. Sometimes it looks a little off. I think it's just because of the way the digital art is rendered. It looked a little weird sometimes. The shading was off, but I don't blame the colorist or the artist for that. I think it's just the technique they're using for the computer isn't quite right. I think that needs a little tweaking. Otherwise, the story was actually really fun. I think they need to establish where this is located, what state it's in, because there's a few problems if they are in most Amish communities like Ohio and Pennsylvania. People don't talk like this in Ohio and Pennsylvania. They're using like a southern accent occasionally, or a drawl that the people in those states wouldn't use. I think that they're trying to make everybody in the Midwest sound like they're from the South, and that doesn't quite work. Now, if you're looking at like Kansas or somewhere else, it really doesn't hold up then either, because they also don't have this same way of talking. Now, they mentioned that this Clayton guy is from Memphis, so most likely they're not in Tennessee, because it sounds like the guy had to come a long way to get this guy. If they are in Tennessee, they still don't talk like they're in the Deep South. Now, I think they're somewhere in the Midwest, obviously, and I'm guessing they're trying to keep it nebulous on purpose. But if it was like West Virginia, okay, they're talking a little more realistically, but there's not a lot of Amish in West Virginia. So anyway, overall, I would say it was a good story, but not knowing where this is supposed to be set really kind of hurts it, because the people don't consistently speak the same. Like, the locals should all be speaking the same general dialect and accents, and there's a sort of a disconnect there. So overall, I thought the story was good. It needed some tweaking, maybe maybe a little bit more research on the author's part, but I'm not overly familiar with Colin Bunn. From what I've heard, he's pretty hit and miss, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty fun. I really like the original movie with Lance Henriksen, so hopefully this holds up pretty well. I'd say if you can find it for $2 or $3, pick it up. $4 might be a bit much for your average person, especially with the stupid backup story. I didn't feel ripped off. I think I paid $2 for it, so I'm pretty content with that. I'm gonna give this one a mild recommend if you can find it cheap. I know issues 2 and I think 3 are out right now. I'm gonna try and track those down because I actually was intrigued enough to want to read the rest of the story. But that'll do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel, and we hope to see you on the next episode.